Hey everyone, Kudus Campbell here for TheButtonSmashers.com, and this is our review for Yonder, the Cloud Chaser Chronicles. Whoa, that's really hard to say. Twice in a matter of less than 2 months. How is it possible? How could I play 2 games already that have me thinking, oh, this is definitely going in my game of the year for this year? The first game was Next Machina, and now this. Both games also have more similarities than you might think, and it's these similarities that set them aside from everything else that I've played thus far. 1. They're both from independent developers that were not on my radar prior to playing them. 2. Both games play heavily on the nostalgia of older games. 3. They both transcend the games that they seem to be inspired by. Yonder, the Cloud Catcher Chronicles is the best adventure game of 2017 thus far, and I doubt anything else will dethrone it this year. Why I say that is because none of the games that could be considered adventure titles that are scheduled for release this year seem like they will surpass it. In fact, this game didn't even wow me until I actually started playing it. My initial impressions after seeing some Kinda Funny's 30-minute Let's Play was that it was likely to be an average indie game with basic elements, and oh boy was I wrong. When considering all the things that make a great adventure game, Yonder ticks all the right requirements. Beautiful, engaging environment? Check. Lots of side quests? Check. A variety of activities? Check. As a whole package, the game joins just a few other games in its genre that can claim to be among the best adventure games ever made. When you begin the game, you're given just enough plot to compel you to explore the island you have been shipwrecked on. This for me was one of the aspects of the game that kept me playing long after the credits rolled. The plot is centered around your character being marooned on an island with very little knowledge about it and its inhabitants. It's nothing complex, mind you, and most will figure out the overarching premise behind it pretty early in their experience. But heavy plot is not what good adventure games need. Freedom is. From the get-go, you're capable of exploring most of the island with very few small locations hidden behind a sort of checkpoint system. So basically, this means that if you can see it in the distance, chances are you can visit it. In fact, I had already traversed most of the main island before completing the first quest. The game allowed me just the right amount of freedom, and I emphatically accepted. What I mean is that too much freedom can result in a game becoming unfocused, placing too much drive to play on the player's creativity and existing interest in the game. Too little and the game can feel restricted, almost like a viewing experience rather than an interactive one. Yonder rides the fine balance between these two extremes while managing to tickle that good old nostalgia nerve in the process. This nostalgic feeling exudes from every facet of the game while treading its own new ground. Controlling the character with a controller feels eerily similar to the way Link controls in The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, and visually they are pretty close too. It's so similar that if you like the look and feel of playing Wind Waker, you're likely gonna like this too. The most predominant difference between these two games arguably being the lack of combat in Yonder. This game is all adventure, all the time. And though it may have other activities like farming and crafting, they never steal away the spotlight from the game's primary focus. These aspects are there, but none have enough weight on their own to distract the player for too long. Farming in the game operates mostly autonomously once it's set up, and the crafting is mainly there to serve as another form of checkpoint for the adventuring. In this game, the NPCs use a bartering system to trade goods that makes acquiring items from them a lot more interesting. Some NPCs value certain items more than others, so knowing what to trade to get the best value is important. Visually, this adventuring is accented by the game's stunning beauty. Environments are colorful and each of the regions have their own theme that is as unique as it is beautiful. These locations are then further enhanced by time of day, weather, and the game's dynamic lighting. Oh, and mind you, this game is running on the Unity engine, an engine that has been showing its visual prowess with the rise of more independent games. The game also has a soothing soundtrack and very appropriate sound effects that set the perfect ambience for the island's many regions. When in the tropical forest, the cicadas chirp, while the beaches offer the sound of waves hitting the shore for more of a tropical feel, and you can hear the sound of interesting wildlife in the rainforest. Yonder is also surprisingly environmentally friendly. In the game, you are able to cut down trees for material to be used for crafting, but another tree needs to be replanted to replace the harvested tree, or they just don't grow back. This mechanic was one that surprised me at first because I had become so accustomed to having virtual trees respawn in games. This game doesn't do that. It puts the responsibility in the hands of the player, and even weaves it into the game's completion system, which gauges a region's health on a few factors including trees. Keep in mind, however, that any tree can be planted anywhere, The only drawback being that some of the environmental songs and wildlife are tied to specific types of trees. So being mindful of what you plant where is a good idea if accurate ambience is important to you. If I could think of any flaw in this game, it would be the engagement between your character and side characters, which at the moment is very one-dimensional. It would be nice to build relationships with NPCs to make the experience a much more engrossing one. And it would also be nice if the food mechanic had more use other than it being another form of barter like any other item. With all that I've said so far about this game, here's my final verdict. Yonder the Cloudcatcher Chronicles is an amazing game that will likely go down as one of the best titles to come from this generation. This is no small feat given that more new games are of a higher quality when compared to previous generations. In this thriving ecosystem, Yonder has managed to stand out because of its structure and the way it pays homage to other greats, while at the same time carving its name into the hearts of players. Thank you very much for watching this review of Yonder the Cloudcatcher Chronicles. If you like this review, make sure to leave us a like, and if you have any input about the game, please make sure to leave it in the comment section below.